Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. The playoffs at Masters Madrid are officially set in stone. Lots of reaction to the way these brackets have worked out, but also to the EMEA teams, the home teams for the major, getting slammed out before we even get to the playoff situation. Has that region gone from a one-team region to a zero-team region? That seems to be the response of many of the North American pro players. Very much interested in your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd really appreciate it. First of all, there's lots to discuss on scrims and rumours as to what might be happening behind the scenes. There's been discussion lately on Crew Esports, whether they might be making a change. Now, MTA has been, I think, unwell or recovering from something over the last couple of days, so there's been questions as to whether Heat's apparent appearance with these guys is actually true or not. Heat's been playing ranked with Melsa, and there's been a feeling as to whether Heat actually into Crew Esports could be not a complete impossibility. I don't know whether they'll do anything. We, of course, know that after the kickoff event, this is the time for these teams to look to make changes. The matches begin in the respective regions at the start of April, so there's still a couple of weeks if the teams wanted to make moves, to make these moves happen now. This might just be a substitute-related thing, but at least worth a little bit of thinking about. Now, we've also got to talk about 100T, because the feeling has been that in their practice over the last couple of weeks, they've been looking rather good. We saw some screenshots of them slamming at Leviathan. We know they're pretty good. Sure, they didn't make it in the end to Masters Madrid, but let's be honest, they were the third team in that group. Of course, they lost out to Sentinels, and Sentinels now are the favourites to win the entire thing in Madrid, and we'll see why in a couple of minutes' time. So as Derek says, 100T is beating the Ascent Curse this year. It was just a scrim, bro, relax. The feeling was that maybe EG having a hard time against 100T in practice. This is one screenshot here, actually, of them down 4-9 to 100T in a certain situation. So there were rumours a few days ago as to whether Asuna was going to stay. That looks like it's pretty much locked in now that, yeah, Asuna ain't going anywhere, and 100T apparently looking pretty damn good in practice. This, however, was another screenshot, which I thought was kind of crazy. And we know that NRG, they're not the best scrim team. That has been made very clear from effectively day one. But this is pretty concerning, maybe. I don't know what you guys think about this. But if I'm NRG, or if I'm any team in the Americas, the gold standard is SEN and Loud right now, and they're actually going to play again very soon. We'll discuss in a couple of minutes' time here. But we know how good those teams are, how well drilled those teams are, how consistent those teams seem to be for now. Then you've got Lev, even 100T, probably pretty damn good, but they were just in the absolute group of death. And NRG, of course, they went down to Sentinels, close series, but, well, at least close map one on the Sunset. Then Sentinels got the job done from there. But yeah, here they are down 17-3 to M80 in a scrim map. So, you know, just something to think about, especially because there were the rumours the other day that NRG could well have signed in the rate if they wanted to. He's now gone to KC. We'll discuss him in a second. There were also other options as well, such as Sinatra, which they trialled, but when Ethan and Demon 1 became available, they locked that up, and I don't think that was a bad decision at all. But the feeling is that if they don't deliver, then there will be questions raised, and maybe, you know, Chet might be on the phone to FNS and SOM to see if there's something to be worked out right there. So, yeah, this is Kaplan. I don't know, got frustrated about practice or something. They're getting ready for the tournament regardless. But before we get to the Sentinels games that are coming up soon based on the playoffs, we've got to discuss the other teams that got there from the 2-in-1 side of the Swiss system. The way that this tournament ran, it doesn't feel like a Swiss system really, when it's only like 2 games that are played. If it's first to 3, then sure, Swiss system feels like Swiss system, like you get in Counter-Strike with the major that's currently ongoing. But in this, it didn't quite feel the same way. Did that really reflect the results being random? No, not at all. And I definitely feel the correct teams advanced through to the playoffs. Edward Gaming were not one of them. And you look at these numbers and you think, well, you know, it's another top 6. It's not too bad. But the way they lost yesterday, like, they genuinely looked like they were chilling in bronze. Like, it was bad. So 6th at Masters Tokyo, 6th at Champions LA, 6th now at Masters Madrid. Maybe the new DRX, I don't know. But this series, if like, just not safe for work warning if you guys haven't seen this already, like, you may want to avert your eyes because this is pretty ugly. They just got embarrassed here. Haldong had 9 kills over 2 maps, and Quick just completely annihilated them, really. Kang was completely shut down, and yeah, the Icebox was 13-2, the Sunset was 13-3. Like, basically, I mean, even having a look at some of these rounds, there wasn't even like one proper gun round they really won, apart from that round 3. And even that's more of like a bonus. So Edward in proper gun rounds didn't win anything. Okay, they won a pistol here on the icebox, and they won they won the final round here, I guess round 12 to be fair on this instance, and okay, they won the force by round 2, and then they won the round after that. But on proper gun rounds, Edward basically won nothing. And yeah, the sunset was pretty ugly as well. So Loud played, got to give credit to Loud, but Edward were nowhere near the game. And we talked about this yesterday with FPX, like, FPX were pretty comfortably handled in the end out of the tournament by Loud. But the feeling was for me, okay, Edward, they should put up more of a fight. They should show why they're the best team in China. But they just got obliterated here, right? So it does raise for me more questions, just as I said yesterday. When is this region going to look reasonably competitive? Edward have been decent for some time. Whether they're even going to consider making a move is something that I would at least think about, because there are other good players in that region right now. And maybe Edward, do they want to get better than top 6? Because if they do, this current iteration doesn't really feel like it's capable of doing that based on what we've seen over the last 12 months. And it's not like they've improved their respective performance to other opposition over that time period. So maybe there's something to be said about that. But as I said before, there's going to be like 4 Chinese teams at Champions. So I'm just hoping by then that they are somewhat more competitive. The other series, though, that was more interesting as it was, if you're a Paper X fan, man, I know you were pulling your hair out over this one. An absolutely wild series. The way that Paper X play Valorant, you can't avert your eyes, because sometimes it's ugly, sometimes it's beautiful. This is Narrate, by the way, with the Sentinels classic here, which I thought was kind of funny. And we also had a really cool picture of Neil Zinho here, so the coach that was in that drama yesterday, having a nice photo here with Mind Freak, right? Of course, he was talking a bit of trash to you. So good to see these guys getting along well. It's all fun and games, I think, at the end of the day. But this series was remarkable, and it does feel to me, ever since Benji Fishy kind of like called out Monyet on the other side of the stage, Monyet's been playing some phenomenal Valorant. I mean, here he goes. This is just something you don't see every day. It's funny how well he fits in with this Paper X mold and the Paper X playstyle, because flying down from above here on the ascent to get a 3k, not something you see every day. And then, of course, I'm also getting a lovely ace here in the early days of the series on the bind to put Paper X up 4-0. It did, however, go to the game 3 in this series, and there were some serious highlights across the board here. Martine had a good one as well. I know there was talk about Martine turning up over the course of the tournament, but as I've said before, when it comes to teams like KC, yes, they won their region in the EMEA. They did an incredible job to do so, but it's one thing winning the kickoff event in your home region, and it's another thing to have the pressure of the crowd in Madrid, in EMEA, in front of, lots of fans that want the team to do well, and to deliver on that level when there's still plenty of inexperience on this roster was not necessarily expected. I still actually think they played really well here. I did think Paper X would win this one 2-1. That's what happens in the end after a 13-6 Lotus. The Ascent was a crazy 14-12. Martin tried his absolute best to keep them in this, the final map, but Forsaken and other players as well. But yeah, Forsaken was just a little bit too good on the fade here. Understandably, there was some reaction to this. Even Magnum was kind of talking about how in certain scenarios they do stupid things, but he did go on to clarify that, look, we did lose to them, so I can't really say this, I suppose. And I didn't mean to call their overall playstyle stupid. I meant to mainly talk about them purposely throwing some rounds, but who am I to talk? We just lost to them. So definitely frustrating from KC, but also lots of reaction really as to the EMEA region in general. I did probably expect KC to make it to the playoffs. I think that coming into the tournament, I would have expected them to make it over one of the Pacific teams, over either Gen.G or probably, Paper X, of course. That didn't happen. I didn't think that Heretics were going to have enough to make it all the way. Yes, it was kind of Spanish organization, Spanish crowd, but, those two teams that made it through EMEA, not so much experience on this kind of a stage. So however talented they are, I'm not massively surprised that they weren't able to make it in this instance. But at the same time, Fnatic lost to them, and other teams lost to these teams, right? So it's like, if that is the best that EMEA has to offer, and Fnatic weren't able to make it, then what does that say about the present strength of the EMEA region, right? Arguably, actually not even arguably really at this point, but the downfall of the Pacific was seemingly greatly exaggerated. We have 2 Americas teams, we have 2 Pacific teams in there to the playoffs. Even as Bosa says, everyone's a fraud in this region, give NA 3 slots. And Boostio says, EMEA 0-team region. And you gotta say, if you put Lev in this tournament, or you put NRG in this tournament, do they make it to the playoffs? Do they beat Paper X in that series? Because Paper X is still vulnerable, I think. Arguably, yes. So I think it's probably a little bit too early to say. what happens during the regular season. But even last year, there was lots of talk that, yeah, you know, Fnatic, they're basically the only good team from EMEA. And that kind of was true in some part. Now, Fnatic don't even qualify, and all of a sudden, they're out of there. You know, like the EMEA teams are getting eliminated. So, understandably, I think Zelsis, Boost Joe, Vanity, among others, were all basically saying EMEA 0-team region LOL, and I guess we'll see over time whether that proves to be true or not. However, we do have the playoffs draw for Madrid, and the first thing to clarify here is that this is not single elimination. So it doesn't actually matter so much that we have intra-regional matchups. I kind of wish we didn't, just because we get SEN and Loud again, we get Gen.G Paper X again. It'd be kind of nice to see a crossover here, but it was always going to be a 2-0 team versus a 2-1 team, so there were only two options that SEN could play. It was either Loud or it was Paper X. This time it's Loud again. We've seen these guys play a lot lately, of course. They played a couple of times at the kickoff. We get Gen.G Paper X again. That also happened at their respective kickoff, but as I've said before, and I'll just clarify again, as time progresses, we will see some cross-regional matchups, right? The loser of this top series will play the loser of this bottom series. The winner, the same is true respectively as well. So I'm not massively concerned really about the way this group draw is, or this playoff draw has happened, because at the end of the day, it's a 2-0 versus a 2-1, and we are going to get the cross-regional games. Do I wish that it was SEN Paper X and Gen.G Loud? Probably yes, I'd have preferred that, but we're arguably going to get those games anyway in the second rounds, or in the losers round, or in the lower finals, depending on what happens here. But these are the playoffs, right? One of these four teams is going to win Masters Madrid, couple of days off before everything gets underway. So SEN and Loud, they have more time to prepare for each other. That Loud Ascent composition, we'll see if that comes out anymore. And of course, Gen.G took down Paper X in what, a 3-1 fashion when they played in the finals way back in the kickoffs, right? So Sentinels probably go into this as the favourite. Gen.G have played very well as well and have proven to be in region stronger than Paper X, and so have SEN to Loud. But the way that Loud played yesterday against Edward Gaming, and yes, Edward did not play their A game at all, but Loud, as the tournament progresses, can get stronger. But I think so can Sentinels, and they are not going to want to back down at all. So very much interested in your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.